biggest station in the world, playing all of today's hits. You're listening to Instinct Radio.
Is that right there where we want it? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday. It's your boy Kevin Thornton, and you are tuned in to the Wellness Architect Show. Today is the birthday week. You know, starting today till next Monday. Well, yeah, next Monday I will celebrate my birthday. My birthday is actually coming up on Sunday. So get ready to enjoy an amazing show. If the show is any as good as the conversation we had before this it started, you are in for a treat. So tune in. If you got any questions or comments or texts, please call us at 478-569-6474. 478-569-6474. If you are watching on Facebook Live, please share this. Please share this. And not only share it, ladies and gents, but ladies mainly. Tag the men in your family, in your friendships, wherever it is, tag them so they can see this show, because we're going to speak to them, but also you will also learn as well. So please share the show. Tag the men in your family that you want to see, husbands, boyfriends, kids, whatever. Please tag them, sons, tag them, because this is going to be a very powerful show. This that they need to know if we're going to, grow the black family back to where it's supposed to be, but also learn what emotional intelligence is. So with that being said, I want to introduce Mr. Paul Posey. I'm like those who know, I don't do bios. I let them say themselves because nobody could tell you guys who they are better than they can. So it's up to you.
How far back do I get to go?
As far as you want to go, brother.
Okay. As he said, my name is Paul Posey. I can see this is going to be an emotional show right now. I'm getting caught up in it. Born and raised Gary, Indiana. One of 5 children with my mom. Growing up not knowing my dad. Growing up in a dysfunctional household, joining the military for 23 years, coming back from the military, and found my way to understand my role in my family. So that will just be the top of it. And I worked at several jobs. I worked in a couple of federal jobs. I worked at the VA, and now I'm in this movement to change the direction of the black family, of all families, but especially the black family. To make sure that our tomorrow will be easier for the kids of today, because that's what we're really dealing with. And I think that's what sparks the movement right now, is watching our young people stumble around and be lost in who they are because we're not connected to who we are. And I'm not talking about in a historical sense that most people have grabbed us from, and they says, if you don't know your history, your greatest history is the ones that you meet.
Right.
That goes your grandparents, maybe your great-grandparents, and your moms and dads. That history sets your mark, not the history of 30 years ago.
Right.
We as the parents should be the ones that decipher all that information from the history and put our kids in the right direction. So
I agree.
That's who I am.
So can you explain what negative to positive stands? What's that about?
Negatives to Positive is a nonprofit that I started. I had a vision. It snuck in my life after I left the Marine Corps in 2009. I just knew my life had to go to a different direction, and I was treating myself by buying a sports car, and I put this on the license plate. And then 2 years later, I liked the idea of negative deposit so much, I put it on a T-shirt, and it has been growing since then.
Okay.
And then when I went to college, I had to do a business plan, and I was living by myself. I was in my tornado of PTSD, but I was still slightly functional into the idea that I says, what I have inside of me is still valuable. So I wanted a mentoring program for the younger people that I run into, because no matter where I'm at, if I get a chance to talk to them, I give them what I have. And then I created a nonprofit, and it's just growing.
Okay.
I have an LLC. I have a LLC for my books and my speaking. So something told me to put it all in place. And if you put it all in place, you're ready.
Right.
So when this, like meeting you said we're going to do something, I'm already ready.
Right.
It's not that I have to come to the idea. You says, yeah, I think you have a great idea, but you haven't done anything. I've done it all.
Right.
I've done it all. I've done everything except for get a wig, and I've done it. I prepared myself to be a part of tomorrow,
Okay.
and it starts today.
Okay. So, can you explain to everybody what is emotional intelligence?
Emotional intelligence. I didn't know she used that term, but emotional intelligence is understanding exactly where you at and how you feel. I lied to myself for years, not saying how I feel. And the emotional intelligence with your family is knowing that what they're going through and what you've gone through, you guys can do it better. When you with your spouse, when you look at your past and you bring it forward, it's like, we doing this all wrong. We got to be well enough to say we need to change this. Not change it as we try to allow time to change it. And those trial and errors that we do, we need to do it on purpose. So if we're smart enough, we're going to have to change how we do things. And that's, to me, that's emotional intelligence, to be able to make the emotional intelligence. Think about how you feel.
Right.
That's where it is, because when we work on emotion, we just want to feel better. We make a lot of bad decisions on how we feel.
Right.
Versus thinking how we're going to get to that good feeling the right way and take everybody with you.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? When you're thinking about family, especially dads, and that's what we're going to cover, right? Especially dads. Dads are the leaders of homes. Not a ruler, not a dictator. He's the leader. If you don't know what that means, leadership is the art of influencing others to carry out a mission or a goal. The art of influencing, not directing,
Right.
not beating them,
Right.
not cheating them, not neglecting them, doing it through a leadership manner.
I love it. So, with that being said, and we are going to focus on the men. The women are not going to be left out.
Right.
But you see a lot of men have a problem dealing with emotions.
Right. What do you think about that?
What you think about that?
We are not of emotions, we're of logic. That's the difference between men and women. And when you're damaged so bad emotionally, you become cold, you become numb. If anybody knows about that, you become numb, and it's like a suit of armor. No matter what comes, it's going to bounce off of me. The lying part is, I'm lying about how I feel, then you treat me by what you see. So you don't know how I feel.
Right.
So you're just doing whatever, and on the inside there's turmoil, and I'm hurting, and I can't believe this, and I can't believe that. That is your worst enemy, is not telling how you feel. Because women tell us how they feel all the time. But we can't.
We can't.
We weren't taught that. Two, it's scary. We're scared.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times, and me and some of my buddies have had this conversation, because the narrative has been made for so long that you can't, men don't supposed to be emotional, don't supposed to express their feelings, that even now women has took on that logic as well.
Absolutely.
So then therefore, when you do feel comfortable enough to be vulnerable to the lady in your life, and they take what you gave them and use it against you.
Absolutely.
Then,
unfortunately,
it's like, okay, who can I trust? I can't. And this person wants someone I love, and I can't really trust this person with how I truly feel. Now I can't trust nobody.
Right. Emotionally trust.
Emotionally trust.
Right. That's what we want to do when we meet women. We want to emotionally trust them. I can give you my ATM card and ask you to go pay a bill. That's not the real trust. And they think that's based on that trust. We don't know how to emotionally trust, and it takes time. And when we go too fast, then we don't recognize who we're actually connected to, and then they victimize us.
Right.
And that goes both ways.
Right.
When one day, I just had this overwhelming feeling that I can really feel, not just extreme anger or horniness or extreme happy. I had everything in between, and I took it to the one emotional person that I knew. That was my wife at the time. And she tore me out of the frame. She tore me out the frame because I had not had emotions before, and everything that I ever done to her, she brought it back to me. Now I'm an open womb, and it just everything hurts. Everything hurts. Now I see how women feel, because everything hurts. Everything. Imagine you can do this if you have a cast on your arm. Now you don't have a cast on your arm. Now this hurts. This is where we're at. But we weren't made like that.
Right.
And the idea of what we're doing right now in relationships and marriage, this is the civilized part.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't need any feelings. We got feelings now because our long-term goal is to be with this person. And we have to be a whole person, not just a thinker, not just a feeler.
Right.
We have to be both. And we need them to do the same thing.
Right.
We need them to be the feeler and thinker too.
Right.
When you see some of your greatest relationships, both of them are thinkers and feelers.
Right.
Now, what we show to the outside is you may only see me as a thinker, but when I'm home with her, I'm the feeler.
Right.
But we don't know that. We don't know we could take our best work. It's like being a mechanic who has a raggedy car.
Right.
He don't know that his car needs to be the best running car because he's a mechanic. He needs to take those skills from work and take them home. That's what we need to do too, because some of the things we do in life, we're doing on the outside, but we don't come home and do it. I was a recruiter with the Marine Corps, and I could talk men into leaving their family, their baby, and go join the Marine Corps. But I couldn't go home and talk my wife into cooking.
Wow.
I did that all wrong. My level of communication was all jacked up because I didn't know that everything you do is all of you. You can't separate that.
Right.
So I had to learn that she had feelings. I have feelings too. But by the time I really learned all that, and that's because we slowly learned through trial and error that I was really practicing all that on somebody I loved instead of getting everything that I need to be a whole person, which should have come from
Right.
our parents.
Exactly.
If they don't, we're like jars. You rip off the top, and mom put some in, and dad put some in, and then that's what makes who you are. If only one of them is putting it in there, then we all jacked up.
Right.
And then society, peers, and pain get in that jar too.
Right.
So any things that should be taught is gone.
Right.
Like one of the big things now is women trying to understand why men cheat. You know, why men go from woman to woman to woman to woman. It's the same on the other side. When we watch women who are not connected with their dad, they go to man to man to man to man. It's not funny. I've heard people laugh at trying to explain how a man does the opposite of what that is, how it's not possible. It's because he wasn't connected to his mother. And all the key things he really needed about love and relationships is either be modeled at his house or shown by his mother.
Right.
On the other side, when a woman is not connected to her father and he's not loving her, he's not purposefully loving her, taking her out, showing her what it's like to be people like to say a queen, a princess. She has to find along the way, inch by inch by inch, man by man by man, because he didn't do his part. I have 5 daughters. I can't imagine me not being connected to them and what they have to go through. 5 of them. And then like what we see some of these older gentlemen when they're on their deathbed, now they want to see their kids. You know, they no longer can run around and function in their life. Now they want their adult kids to come see them and take care of them. No, then all that pain of what you didn't do is going to show up.
Right.
And then you just creating another mess.
You said something earlier about a lot of times what we as men, you know, we not emotional, so they don't. A lot of times the women in our lives don't know what we struggle with because we don't present it.
Right.
Like for example, like if all your life you've always thought that you were not, you know, your self-worth was little,
right,
based on your experiences, how you grew up, how people treated you as a kid, all that kind of stuff. So when we get grown, you still have this self-esteem issue,
right, and
very guarded, all that kind of stuff, and the women don't understand why. And a lot of times they think, and they try to fix it, but they can't really fix it because if you don't really know what the issue is, how you can't fix what you don't know what the issue is. And so, and they want to fix it because they want to love this person, but the person on the other end is not willing to express what's going on.
Women can't fix men. I know they love them. Love don't fix them. That would be great. It'd be great if you could love a man and you just fix him. But we know now it don't work. He has to fix him.
Right.
And if he doesn't fix him, it's not going to happen. What ruins most marriages is, most of them, he is not doing the work on him because she's following his lead. And if he can do that without feeling less of himself to go do it, you can either seek to change or be forced to change. When you're in that house by yourself, everybody's gone, now you're forced.
Right.
And that's bad because I believe we as a culture, we so waiting on negative stimuli to move us forward, to make that change. We're not in charge of change. I don't get it. This is your life. You want it to change, then you change it.
Right.
So it changed me.
And so with women, a lot of times being so giving, and they'll do for everybody.
Enablers.
Yeah,
That's the word. Yes.
good word.
Yeah.
They enable the bad behavior because they keep in their mind they're trying to help, but it's not working. So why and then they get frustrated because it's not working because then they lose themselves trying to take care and make this person happy when everything you're doing is not working. And then they feel bad to actually try to focus on themselves to make them happy.
Right.
So what do they, how speak to the women who feel that way? Because I know there's a lot of women out there who feel like, I want to make him feel good about himself. I want him to be happy so we could be happy. But then it's not working. Then now I'm feeling like I'm wasting my time.
Well, half women pick half a man. It's kind of like picking up Swiss cheese with all the holes in it. And they think they can fill in the holes, but they're not in charge of filling the holes. They're in charge of being a good partner. That's it. All those things. I would say to my daughters is, if he won't get the help, you got to be willing to leave him. That's unfortunately because you're going in that rabbit hole with them. I think I just posted that the other day. You can meet people where they're at, but don't get down in that hole that they dug. Because you can't love them out that hole.
Right.
They have to do the work. It's no different than having an addict in your family, a crackhead or something like that. That you don't want them to be in the gutter, but you stop them just before they get to the gutter all the time. No, true help doesn't come until their back is wet from laying in the gutter. You think you're trying to help, but no, you're prolonging the change, the turn that's supposed to happen. So women stick with relationships because they're emotionally invested, and their long-term goal is to have kids, have a family, majority. Have a family and live happily ever after, especially at this age. I'm 50 now. So now we want to be in that level, which we've all probably jacked up a good portion of it.
Right.
So we get divorces and things like that. They wanted to be happy ever after, but they keep trying to fix a man with a hammer, and it takes a screwdriver and some pliers and a vise. They got the wrong tools, so that's why women can't fix men. And he's already, I ain't gonna say broken, because you have to be whole in order to be broken.
Right.
He's already underdeveloped in certain areas. He has to search for himself. My biggest change was after my divorce. I had to reinvent who I was.
Yep.
And I didn't ask anybody else to do the work because they couldn't do it.
Right.
I had to do the work for myself. And it wasn't to prove anything to my family. It's just that when I woke up, which is my third book, I realized what my role was. I realized that I couldn't be a husband because I ruined that, but I could be a dad. Now, I think dads and husbands are kind of in the same range because you're looking out for the greatest of those you're in charge of, whether it's being your husband or that. So some young men who are dads may not think to be husband, but a husband can be a dad. And so we need to get that in our minds that we need to work on that part right there, because there's a greater chance of you being a dad than you being a husband. And it'd be much easier to be a husband after you've been a dad.
Right.
So unfortunately, the women's toolbox is not filled with the right things. It's filled with hope. It's filled with religion. Those two things that keep you in the middle of the street and get you hit by a bus.
Right.
Definitely it will.
So
I'm not talking against it, but I'm just saying those tools Those two things don't work.
So, for men and women, why do you feel that the fear of personal development and creating a change in you is based off of fear to a certain extent? Because if they change the essence of who they are and grow, that the people that they love may not love the new version of who they are.
That's realistic. You picking up someone who's half. You don't know who they are when they whole. That is a realistic thought. You know, I'm not the same person I was last year, and I wasn't the same person before. So that means everything that needs to connect with me has changed. Well, majority. They're tweaking now, but they've changed. So, yeah, that's a realistic statement, because when you get half people and you make them whole, that's the person you're dealing with. If you tell me you are thirsty and I give you water, right? And when I give you that water, I should see a better you. Now, if you ask me for a sandwich but you really need water, I'm not going to see the best out of you. I'm not going to see the best until I give you truly what you need, and that is water. So we're not really trying to. That is a true statement. How do we get beyond that? We have to openly talk about how to be a better us, how to be in a better relationship, be better this, and seek to do it. Because you can't say you can't be something and not hit it.
Before the show started, I was thinking about it on the way here. It's easier for us not to do the personal work,
reflections,
because then we have to take accountability.
Yes.
For who we are and where we are at this moment.
Yes.
But it's easier to play the victim and say,
easy way out.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
We are like a train. And once we come to that dead halt, there's a lot of track behind us. And we don't want to walk down that track. See, I hit a cow, I hit that pickup truck, I'm going to make those things whole. Because, yeah, that is truly it. You got to clean up your mess when you wake up. You're going to look back there, you're just like, goodness gracious, this is what I did. I did that. I did it. I cried.
Yeah.
So much knowing of all the wreckage that I made.
Right.
And after you get done crying, you get on that phone.
Wow.
You call who needs to be called. You say what needs to be said. That is, I'm truly telling you this. You are responsible for everything you do. Apologizing doesn't fix anything. First thing you need to do is try to fix it. And if you can't fix it, then you apologize.
Right.
We try to apologize. It don't change jack.
Right.
Like asking somebody in Congress or these molesters to apologize. No, it don't change nothing. It makes people feel good, but you need to see what you can fix.
Right.
And that's what we need to do.
Right.
So when we look at it, when we come to this point, I just can't move any further, is because it's like running through a line of rubber bands, right? You smeared yourself. If you're stuck, you can only go so far.
Right.
That's how we treat ourselves. And then eventually at some point, it's going to throw us back right into everything that we made.
Exactly. And we come down to relationships, whether it's you dating somebody you married or even family and friends.
Right.
You really can't be mad at the people that hurt you. A lot of times we create the relationships that we have, and sometimes like some people who love to create one-sided relationships, so then therefore they never set an expectation of how they want the other people to treat them.
Right.
They just do everything. So if you don't make them have no expectations from these people, they're not going to do.
Absolutely. Or a limit.
So then when you feel like you wait for them to do, and they're not willing to do, you can't really get mad at them. Your feelings could be hurt.
Right.
But you can't really get mad at them because you never set that foundation of what you expect from them.
Greatest example is us with our kids. How come our kids don't call us?
Right.
We allow that relationship to go. How come they don't give us money? How come they don't do for us? We never taught them reciprocation.
Right.
We just taught them to take and receive from us. But we don't say, hey, at some point, you're going to have to start giving to me. At some point, you're going to have to start looking out for me like I look out for you. But we don't do that. But we don't do that until we get mad. Well, how come nobody call me? I used to be like, how come my kids don't call me? And one day their mom said, why don't you call them? Oh, not only did that changed the dynamic of how I felt, because I wasn't thinking like that. Remember I said, you're feeling. You wasn't thinking. I said, how can I be smarter than my kids? all right, so I'm going to get them on a regiment and we're going to talk every Sunday. Then I'll know because I'm dad. You know, we need to find a better way to be parents, to teach them to be parents. And the only way I got to outthink them. I got this 2% rule. You got to be 2% smarter than what you're working with. You have to be 2% smarter than your kids. You have to be 2% smarter than your mate when you choose them on certain areas so you can keep things moving forward. If not, what if they lead you in the wrong direction or it's not going anywhere? Then you can't be mad about
And
that.
it's funny because I think about like the dynamics of my immediate family system, me, my brother, and my mother and father. My brother and my mother are the talkers, like the phone talkers.
Right.
My father and I are not. We hate it.
Right.
But my mom was like you said, she set the expectation.
Right.
Once I move down here, I'm ways away from them.
Right.
I need you to call me Monday through Friday. You're not going to tell your mother no.
Right.
So I do it. Now, my father, not so much.
Right.
They live in the same house, but his mindset is whatever I need to know about Kevin, I'm going to find out through his mother. So I'm very obedient. So if I know you don't like talking on the phone, and I don't like talking on the phone, we're not going to do it.
Right.
Unless I just feel like I need to talk to you about something. My brother, not so much. He's going to call my father 3 times a day because that's what he needs.
Right.
And I had to understand as I was going through my journey in dealing with people, family, friends, or whoever, you know, your love language and their love language is two different things.
Absolutely.
So what I need was good for me might not be good for that person.
Right.
So if I don't care about you calling me on the phone, you know, and so then therefore I don't call you, you may have a problem with that.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm not on that side. I can't see that wall, and you can't see those checkers on the wall behind you. Have you ever thought about giving a quiz to your family? 5 love language. I just spoke about it on Thursday.
Yep.
Knowing knowing what your love language is, and knowing what your family love language is, makes a world of difference. Because to me, when I took the quiz, I only got 2 points on gifts. Gifts don't matter to me. You can bring me gifts all day. I just stack them over on the shelf. But to know especially when you love somebody, even a coworker, to know what their language is, so you're not misrepresenting yourself. Because when I spoke the other day, one of the questions I asked is, knowing what your love language is now, did you do it wrong before? You know, did you dismiss a good relationship because you thought they weren't loving you the way you like to be loved? So once you know better, you do better.
In reality, you know, you tend to be selfish because you know how you like to be loved. Your love language is, but you only gonna do what you do for your love. But if that person needs more affirmation,
right,
and that's not what you do, but you care about this person,
right,
but you gonna be too selfish to say, I'm not gonna give her that because that's not what I do, and she know I don't do that.
Right. So then she picked the wrong one.
Right.
But we don't want, once we invested, we don't want to change. But how do you pick somebody and not want to grow with them?
Right.
Right. Because if I decide to move on, because here's what normally happens. In the beginning, during the chase, you're hitting all love language. You're doing it all, right? I'm not telling her what's the most important ones to me. So if she just accidentally stops, let's say gifts were, she accidentally stopped giving me gifts. At some point, I'm going to think she don't like me anymore because she stopped speaking my language. But I did not give her positive reinforcement that that's what I really like. So it's like we got all the pieces, but we're not actually, it's like having a mechanic with this giant toolbox, craft, a Snap-on, whatever, it don't matter. You got all these tools, but you're not a mechanic. So you got all the shiny tools, but you're not finding out how to make them work. Because these books that we write about, we write about pain. Pain we don't want other people to go through. You think people are reading books?
Nope.
They wait for you to come out and tell them about it because they don't want to read the book.
Right.
But I wrote my book, and it's pretty short, and you can read the whole thing in one day. So we're trying to tell people we can do this better, but here's the problem. The ones before us never says, this will get better. You will be coming together to love, speak, communicate, hold, all that. They're not talking about the evolution of who we are, because we're coming from a broken place, a shattered place,
Right.
and we just inching away. But at this point right now, I believe we're on the cusp of change. This is going to happen, just like we're here right now talking about it. This movement of the change of family, the change of the role of men, is about to change.
It is.
Because we're tired of getting in our own way. That's what we are. The idea that other cultures have been making sure that we are damned, those hands are pretty much been pulled back, and they're damning us at a higher level. They're not damning us at where we're at. Besides, what we see with the police department.
Right.
But at your house, who's talking to your kids? Who's talking to your wife? It's you.
Right.
Yeah, you can't keep blaming nobody else, because inside those four walls, if it's jacked up, it's you.
Right. And I agree with you. The change has come. And like I told you before we started, there's no need to have all these different things going on. We're doing the same thing. So just align yourself with the right one. So like I say, I want to work with you. You already got something going on. I could just align myself and we could do together.
Absolutely.
And one of the things before the New Year started, I had got an email from Tony Gaskins, who's like this, he's a life coach, whatever. And he started a men's group. And he feel like, it's something that's needed for men to give them a safe place to have conversations.
Right.
And, and not be judged.
Right.
Because that's the number one fear, to be judged. And to have these conversations, be on these group calls and have these conversations and see the struggles of these men is like mind blowing. And I think if the women knew what these men really struggle with, it might be a little bit different.
Well, hurt people hurt people.
Yep.
So if they're hurt already, we don't have a reset button. That's the problem.
Right.
We don't have a reset button to wipe away everything that happened to us before today, because everything that happened to us before today made us to who we are. So we should get together. Should women be privy of that conversation? They should be privy that he's going to get help. And it's kind of like when you send your child to school, when he comes home with some work, you work it with him. We can't separate ourselves from the women because they're just as hurt as us. But for years, they've been holding us down. When I speak and I go to the shelters, like when I go down to the Atlanta shelter, not the Atlanta shelter, Salvation Army or Gateway downtown, 90% black men in there. I'm pretty sure 70% of them are dads. They're not fixing their problems. They're in shelters. Because if they really wanted to fix it, they go back to family and have the love, the foundation of love, to help them fix them. But they ruined it and decimated and beat it with a hammer and left. So they're there. Some of them are just waiting their time just to pass away. So the idea is, I have no value. I jacked it up. How do I fix it?
So I want you to speak to the reality of men dealing with abandonment issues. Their father not being present, and therefore it has affected them. A lot of times, which is a reality.
Yeah, that's me. This is real. This is real. This is not hypothetical. This is real.
It's real, and we at a place now. You have people who say that men use that as an excuse not to be better. But if you never had that experience,
absolutely,
it's something different. And like I said before on another show, yes, the women didn't have that father either, but it's something a little bit different, because they need that father for that love to show them what they need from that man. Self-esteem. But what they do have is they have their mother, and that mother is going to teach them how to be a woman. That man don't have that father, so they never learn how to be a man.
True. Maybe 90%.
Maybe 90%.
Because a woman can teach her daughter how to cook, but she doesn't get a chance to teach her how to respect a man.
Okay.
She can still function on her own with what her mother hands down, but it doesn't teach her how to respect a man. when a dad does what he's supposed to do, she respects him, and that's the standard that is set. So that's why it's different, because it crossed lines. So now the part about providing security and things like that, and doing your role as a man, that's what really hurts our men, because when we hear women tell us, you know, one, oh, that's not what my dad did, or my dad don't treat me like that. Two, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. That beats them down too, because silently, no one ever taught me that. So that's the part you're talking about when dad's missing. But at some point, and this is what we're not doing, you're responsible for how you turn out as a man. So, but his reason was no one ever showed him. We need to know the difference between an excuse and a reason. You know, reasons stop you, excuses slow you down.
Right.
Because eventually you can get right.
Right.
But it is kind of like he's using it as an excuse, but you can only use the excuse once with me.
Right.
Because once you tell me you're a procrastinator, next time I see you, I don't need a procrastinator.
Right.
Because you already know.
Right.
And once you already know, you need to be doing it. But we don't hold them to the standard to grow.
Right.
We're like, well, you know, I just know he ain't going to take out the garbage. I'll take it out.
Right.
So you need to stop right there for change, because this is what you want.
Right.
But we talk about feelings. Feelings make us stay in the street to get hit by that bus.
Right.
So
and a lot of times, I think, like you said, you know, it could be a truth. But we tend to use that truth as an excuse not to do and be better.
Right.
And so, you know, and I tell that to people all the time, you know, even, you know, if I coach a young lady, that's your truth. But now you're using it as an excuse.
Right.
To be better.
You can label it.
You can label it. We could say, you know, we could say that white America creates systems and stuff to try to hold us down.
Right.
That could be a fact.
Right.
But we can't use it as an excuse.
Right.
Not to be better. And do
Absolutely.
better.
We've shown that. We've been creeping out from under that rock since they dropped it on us about what we can't do. We do it. And it boggles my mind when I'm talking to educated men, people who've been in the military for 20 and 30 years, and they'll tell me, well, these other people didn't have these opportunities. They're doing what they want to do. You know, if you're doing what you want to do, then obviously you have an opportunity. Now, if what you're doing, what you want to do doesn't yield a home, food, security, and a retirement, that's on you. That's how I look at it. But you have those opportunities to make those decisions. There's no one, you cannot whoop another adult and make them do right.
Right.
And that's the problem.
Right.
Because we can live with our flaws, and we can live with not doing our part, and we can just creep around saying, well, I knew I could have been a better dad, but I didn't. We don't say that until what?
Too late.
Till we're on our deathbed. Absolutely. So my whole thing is we need to stop waiting for that. And we need to fess up. And, of course, there's going to be egg on our face on the decisions that we made. When I talk to my son, Paul, it makes me cry to tell him my decision-making factors. Why'd you do this, Dad? Well, I did this and this and this and this and this. And oh, my God, I can't believe I did this and this and this. And I'm telling you all my shame so you don't do it. That's what its purpose of. My purpose in his life is experience. I am the master of mistakes. So I don't want him to go through it. So I got to tell everything. Everything. Because only way he's going to be greater than me if he has everything that I have and he adds on what he's going to be. That's greatness. It's not me. Paul's not going to be me. He's going to be greater than me because he has me and him. And that's what we forget. So if you never debase whatever he get, it just might be good. You know, it's just going to be him. And we don't help them by not having a good base. So I wasn't the greatest dad in the beginning, but I'm working on it now. And I will do whatever it takes, any conversation I have to have with my kids so they can have a base. They can jump off of me. Right. And if we don't do it, it ain't going to happen. Right. At any cost. This pride and this ego of not wanting to tell the truth about who you are and how you got there, that's what's killing us.
And see, what, like for me, in my experience, like My brother and I are polar opposites when it comes to our personality traits.
Right.
But we act just alike when it comes to who we are as men. Because we imitate my father.
Right.
And I think people don't really realize that kids are like a tape recorder. They watch every move you make, everything you do. And then as they get older, all they do is press that play button and they become you.
But the problem is when you don't have a dad.
Exactly.
So when I was saying that guy, that hypothetically, I didn't meet my dad till I was 27. My mother told me he was dead. My ex-wife ran into him, and they exchanged information. Come to find out she was talking to my dad. And but all of this is to say that. I'm not going to go into the whole story because it just chokes me up. I had to be my own dad. That's what I wrote about. Damn what he didn't do. Because I didn't have those I didn't know the automatic things to do that dad did in that place. I had to create it. I am the foundation. I am the beginner. I am the beginner of the legacy of the isms. What would dad do? Dad said, this is what you should do. This is what you need to do. When I didn't have that, that's what this majority of men are right now. I don't know what to do. You know, you're seeing young men out there who can't even change a tire. You know, whose fault is that? Well, those who made them and walked away. That's who made him like that.
Right.
Moms didn't make him like that. Mom just did the best she could with what she had. But when he walks away, he's creating that void in his life. So you don't want to know what's in that void? Anger, pain. It was a good thing I joined the Marine Corps. I was silently a violent person. It allowed me to do violent things.
Wow.
And it really didn't subside. I didn't know the difference until when I finally met him and I shook his hand. It subsided, just like that. Just like that. It went down because I finally met a part of me. Now, I walked away the next day. I never went back. But the idea was I finally made it to that point, that piece that I thought I needed, what I daydreamed about. He would be tall and he would be this. And if I had a dad, you know, how it played his role in my life, watching other people with their dads and my siblings meet their dads, that it's just, So we're angry because what we're supposed to get, we didn't get, and we see it modeled every day when we watch TV, moms and dads, dads and sons. That's what we're angry about. If we came back and did our part, what I say before I leave, what I want you to do, this is me talking at the speeches with the homeless people, homeless shelters. What I want you to do, I want you to call that adult child. You tell them how you feel. You tell them how you feel them. That will increase their life because they're waiting on that phone call.
Right.
Now, they're going to be mad as hell when you call. And they may not even like you. They might even hang up. But you called. And that's going to start it turning. To get where you want us to get is to become whole. Because as long as that void's there and no one ever tries to fill that void, there's going to be anger. And you see it creep out in your life. Fighting, drinking, drugging all the time, stepping out your reality all the time, that false sense of reality, getting high all the time.
Right.
You're trying to get away from that void that was left. Whole people don't do drugs.
Right.
Happy people don't do drugs. They don't do it to the extent where they just want to obliterate everything in their life and just leave it on the floor and like, hey, that's what it is. We can tell the difference. We're not trying to make anybody whole. We just keep trying to move along with the holes in it.
Right. So, when it comes down to like relationships, you know, I was taught. I was at a seminar one time, and the guy said, and I think this is something that we don't do in dating. We get so caught up in all the other stuff. He said, if the man meet the lady's mother and truly pay attention to the mother, you're going to get an idea of who she is based on that mother. And, you know, same if the guy has a father and the father is present. If you see the father, 9 times out of 10, who he is going to be similar to what that guy is. and then you can get an idea or basis if this is what you really want. What you think about that?
I think it's where it starts at. Because I think if any woman met my mother and my relationship with my mother, she would never communicate with me because it was raggedy. So I would hope that I've grown because I know. It's different knowing your parents are jacked up and living like them, or knowing your parents are jacked up and says, I don't want to be like them. So you put things in place to make sure you're not. My mom was a drinker. And I said I wasn't going to be like my mom. My mom liked Wild Irish Rose. So I said I was going to drink something different. No, I was going down the same pattern even though I changed the liquor.
Right.
So the idea is if you're not going to be like your parents, you're going to have to put some things in you to make sure you're not. So what you're looking for when you meet them is, if that's her mother, what is she doing different than her mother? Because of course I wrote a relationship book.
Okay.
And my whole idea is to watch people, watch the whole person before you commit to them so you can see. So visiting their parents, they get you some cool points, but what you take from that visit when they're with their parents, you'll see. Or the brief you get before you go in the house. Look, my dad's a drunk and my mama, but hey, that's how they are. I moved from it. That's the conversation you want to have to see what they think about their parents. You know, it'd be nice to give the quick, hey, your mama crazy, and you crazy too. But if she don't know she crazy because her mama crazy, then that's what you get. But you ask people, and that's where the level of communication needs to go down to the DNA when you meet somebody. What made you who you are today, and what you're doing about it? Because when you meet people and they say they've never fell down before, they ain't got no bounce back. They're not recovering from something. We all are, I'd say majority of us are recovering from either a past relationship or our parents. So what are you doing about it?
Right.
And we don't ask that question. What are you doing about? Since you know this about your family, that's what you need to ask. So yes, that's partly true, but give them credit for they might have changed their life, but also what they're doing about it because they know about their parents. But yeah, always look up the ladder. That's what I say. Always look up the ladder and see what's going on. Why they're not talking to their parents.
That's the key.
Yeah. Why don't we don't ever go visit your parents? Why you never talk about them? They either going to tell you is something wrong with that person you got, or something wrong with them people there.
Right.
But if you like them enough, you'll keep asking questions. I don't think we never ask enough questions.
So what do you think we as men need to do to become the leaders that we're supposed to be and make our families whole again?
Stop getting in relationships until you get your shit together. I'll tell you. That's it's an individual fix. It's not a group fix when you pick a person. You don't want to buy a car, then put it in the shop. You want it fixed before you buy it. But we can't wait that long. We're not waiting long enough to see if people are going to pull themselves together. So I just recommend that if you want a great relationship, understand who you are, what is missing, and add it. Add it. Women love whole men. Majority don't know when they talking to a whole man, right? But they love a whole man, and all he has to do is put himself together. But you can't keep learning as you go and breaking furniture as you go to get to that whole man.
Right.
So we have to pull back and be willing to sit. I think I sat for like a year and a half. I remember trying to date after my divorce, and I remember going on a date, and I remember talking to this woman. I know she didn't know what the hell I was saying because I, in my head, thought I was ready. But in conversation and replaying back the conversation I was not ready. But in my mind, I did. So I had to go get ready.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So it's personal work. Personal work. If you don't really want to do it, you shouldn't be with anybody until you get it. And stop taking people down that rabbit hole with you.
Right.
You know, because women want us as men. But if we're not capable of reciprocating, communicating all the way down to the nano about who we are and how we got there, that means we got some landmines waiting for them.
Right.
You watch the wrong movie, have the wrong conversation, run into the wrong person, then this emotional eruption spills over everybody, and then What do you do after that? Sometimes they leave. Sometimes they try to help you. But it's your own personal
So,
thing.
what do you say about the people, men and women, that go from relationship to relationship and never take time out to do the work to see, what is it about me and my thoughts or who I am that I attract the same type of person every time?
You can't do nothing about it. That's who they roll. I would say is to stop, but emotionally they can't stop. Love is a different kind of drug that needs to be spread, and it don't give a damn. Kind of like crack. It wants to do what it does, and that is to make you feel good. It's not to make you feel good in a logical sense, like picking a man who still lives in his mama's basement, or you're 55 years old and you got a roommate. No, just I can make this work because I feel like I want to be in love. At the cost of humility, at the cost of sharing a space with somebody who's not going to reciprocate or lead you. So if you're willing to accept that, and people do, because dating at 50 is not the same as dating at 25. At 25, two broke people with a credit score of 375, they could probably pull it together. Not right now. I'm not even trying to entertain that. Are you?
No.
No, okay, right.
So, for the ladies, if let's say, there's a lot of ladies out here who maybe because there's a lack of
Hi, ladies.
leaders, leaders that are men are leaders.
Yes.
They feel that they need to take the role of being the leader. So if they know the men that they choose are not leaders, and then you date them or marry them, then should they stay in that role? Because you have that, if you know what they're not doing, and then you marry them or even date them, and now you expect them to change because you no longer want to be the leader, you want them to be the leader. Are they setting them up for failure?
Absolutely. There was nothing positive in that statement. There was nothing going to work out. You remember the Citation? Did you know that was designed to run on 3 wheels? In case you got it flat?
No.
That's why it was so wide. That's right, the Citation. Yeah, that's one of them cars they can get. It can run on 3 wheels. They will settle for the idea, especially if you had never had. Imagine this: that dysfunction in her, it's okay to have a dysfunctional man, because she's never had a dad and she's angry, and she gets a passive man. That works great for her. Now, how long they can do it? Because if he wakes up, then things got to change. If she wakes up, then things got to change. You have what you accept. If you accept it, hey, then you got to shut up. If you accept it, then you got to shut up. Then you got to work with what you have, or you get rid of it. But all is not lost, because you can grow together. I know I'm broke. I know you broke. Let's go get some help. But the problem is, once he becomes whole, once she becomes whole, she may not even want him, and he may not want her. So it's kind of working okay while it's broken for them, as long as they can have it. But once you want to get it right, everybody got to get it right. But that's the crazy side of it, is when everybody's righteous.
So what if, I think it's go back to somebody wanted more than the other person. So what if the woman comes to the man and say, this is not working.
Right.
Let's go to
counseling, which we're already as a culture against it, but go ahead.
Go to a counselor, go to a relationship coach.
Right.
To try to deal with the issue.
Right.
And the man is not really invested into that situation. He may go in the beginning just to shut her up, but then he's not fully invested.
You know why he don't go?
Why?
Because only time you're going to be in a good relationship if you're willing to be by yourself first. That's it.
Yeah.
Once you love you,
yep.
And once you got your foundation of love
off the market for a minute, and when I tell people that, especially when I first moved down here, they say, how you going to move to Chocolate City and get all these women and you're going to take yourself off the market? Don't you get lonely? I said, I'm never lonely.
Right.
I might be alone, but I'm never lonely. As long as I have me and I love me, I'm never lonely.
Right.
Because I enjoy my own personal company.
Right.
And I think that's part of the problem.
Some people don't even like themselves. They can sit with them in a room.
Right.
Absolutely. But you know, we're trying to answer questions for a lot of different people. And I know some people out there watching say, well, that's not my problem. That's not my problem. That's not my problem. Because we all have them at an individual levels. Mm-hmm. But for the majority, we're right on point about it because they need to be willing to fix them. Mm-hmm. We seek in peace. Mm-hmm. We come from chaos.
Yeah.
This has been our life for years. That it's in a constant state of if it wasn't slavery, it was Jim Crow, it wasn't Willie Lynch, it wasn't the Housing Act of 1960, it wasn't the drugs, it wasn't Vietnam. You see all those things? Mm-hmm. That's what keeps us in chaos because we don't know peace.
Right.
Some women think peace is boring. Mm-hmm. You know, or somebody will tell you I'm drama free right now. But you used to drama, and when they come around, you activate your drama power.
Right.
You know, but when you get to that point where peace is truly what you want, there's a lot of things you're not going to do.
Right.
There's a lot of things you're going to do, but that's too much work. Now, I've heard people say, that's too much work. Some would rather be single for 5 and 10 and 15 years and not do the work while they're single.
Right.
And I think that's wrong. When I write in my book, Be Undumpable, I'm talking about it starts with you. You get your act together, and the reason I say it starts with you is then you can see who doesn't do the work.
Right.
If you done the work, you know who didn't do the work. Mm-hmm. What tells you? Where they live at? Are they happy with their job? What their future looks like as far as retirement? All those things tell me that you're not doing what you're supposed to do. You don't get to be with me when you don't fix you. You don't put yourself like that. Why? Mm-hmm. Because when I said it was different from our 20s to right now is I've done the work. I know what hard work looks like. I know what cleaning up my mess look like. So when you meet somebody, you're listening to them, you're saying, yeah, okay. What are they doing? What are mechanisms they have in place to help them to stay on track? Well, some say they meditate. Some say they have religion. Mm-hmm. And some say, you know what? I was procrastinating. Case in point, I was a horrible listener when I was married. Horrible. So what did I do? I went and got some training on how to be a better listener. Mm-hmm. I wanted that, and it helps me. Now I don't miss anything when anybody's talking to me.
Right.
Right. That's part of being a better partner. Mm-hmm. I couldn't keep just going to a new relationship with old issues.
And I told this to a friend of mine. She might be listening. And I actually told this to somebody I was coaching one day. Because I was coaching this person, and she had this banter. It was like back and forth. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling her stuff, and she agrees with what I'm telling her. And she's willing to receive it, but she wants to win the conversation. So she always has this comeback, and she always has this comeback. So I said, pause. What's this banter? Why you have to keep on having this comeback? Why you feel the need to have to win? I said, because men want the same thing that you want.
Right.
We want to be heard just as much as you want to be heard. Mm-hmm. So, and then therefore, if I was your dude and I'm seeing that you're not actually listening to me, I'm going to shut the conversation down until you learn how to listen.
Right.
I want to listen as well. And she got upset. I said, but what makes you feel that my feelings and my thoughts is not as important as yours?
Wow. And she didn't want to receive that?
She had a hard time with that.
Well, she's been doing it for years. She probably was living with the king of cutoff.
And it was it was a learned behavior because she got that from her mother.
Really? And that's what her mom did to her dad.
And the bad part about it was when I turned her on, I said, I need you to face a reality. Because her and her mother don't get along.
Right.
I said, I need you to face a reality. And she said, what's that? You are your mother.
That's why they don't get along.
And she boo-hooed. Mm-hmm. And she was mad at me. No, I'm not. And I said, I had to break it down. Mm-hmm. This is what it is.
You know, it's nothing like watching them old shows and they got the people on the sofa and they says, tell me about your mom. Tell me about your dad. Mm-hmm. And that's why they do it, because that's who make us who we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we really want the greatest kids in the world, we need to be the greatest people in the world.
Exactly.
Then they'll have better relationships. Mm-hmm. Because we do model. We have gentlemen who go to prison. What their sons do? Go to prison. Mm-hmm. because that's what they saw, and they doing what they did. So it seemed like the norm. This norm we have, this dysfunctional norm, we can't seem to get away from it.
Okay. Hold on 1 second. Music Monk. Monk. Come on in, brother. I know.
Would you want him right here, or would you want
He gonna sit right there.
Okay. You want to get in this?
He good. What's going on,
Hey, how
sir?
you doing today?
This is
Hey,
Music Monk
Paul.
ATL.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, brother.
Come have a seat, brother. So
Wait,
I know.
You want me to
yeah,
on the
right
end right
there.
here? Okay, cool.
So
Do this.
you get. No, he good. He good. He good. Everybody know who he is.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So
He come with a mic. That's what I'm talking about.
Good to see you, man.
So we're talking about emotional intelligence, but we also, especially cutting down relationships and trying to get the black family back together, which means that the father's being a more of a leadership role. So this is his whole thing. That's what he's into. So you have any questions about, the state of the black man and how we could, make families better, or relationships with the ladies?
Yeah, I actually wrote a relationship book. It's called Be Undumpable.
I like it.
Yeah.
I
So,
like it.
so any question you want to ask, I'm good. That's what I came in for.
Patience.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the thing. Like that's the thing that I feel like I have to work on.
Uh-huh.
Because sometimes you don't know whether or not you're being patient for the right reasons, or if you're like patient and you're talking yourself into the wrong situation.
Accepting something.
Right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you don't always know when to pull the trigger on having certain conversations. And I found that recently, trying to figure out how to present a situation of accountability,
Mm-hmm.
so you don't have to keep talking about stuff, because as men, we don't like to keep talking about stuff.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I think sometimes that, like for me, like I'm 36, so the women that I'm encountering, the young ladies, like they're, everyone has their issues, right? Like
Right.
we all do. But I'm noticing like a common theme is like you want me to be a leader, but it's almost like the Prince song.
Right.
But you can't seem to make up your mind.
Right.
You know what I mean? How do you do that and present it in a way that doesn't just make the, like you just don't get fed up?
Well, I think what you say when you come through the door makes a lot of difference.
Right.
You she chooses you, but you set the tempo.
Right.
If you want a peaceful relationship, everything you say needs to lead to peace at the end of the day.
Right.
Now, let's say it's not going to rub her wrong for change, but what you say and how you present it, your patience is great, because most people don't have patience. What you do is, I remember I used to want to talk to my wife, and I would say the first thing that came to my mouth, and she would shut me down. I'd be like, "Why in the hell did you do A, B, C, D, and E?" And she's like, "Oh, hold on a second, this conversation's over." So here's what I did. I would go get in the car. I was like, "Why in the hell did you go do A, B, C, and D, and you know good and damn well blah, blah, blah?" Reason I did that, I was in the car by myself.
Right. Right.
So I did it because I got the sting and emotion of what I needed to say, what I wanted to say, like how I felt it. And I came back, and then I was able to, now it took me a while to get this. I was able to say, "Yeah, I was looking at the records." And I noticed that A, B, and C and don't equal up to D and E and this and this and this, because you have removed that, and they can't do with anything but the facts. So your patience is great. Now you got to have a plan to get that discussion out. Now here's something else you could do.
Right.
Those tough discussions you have them with somebody else before you have it with her.
Right. Bounce them off. Bounce.
Absolutely.
Now, for me, I do a pretty good job of, like, I throw out things that aren't always necessarily related to me. I just pay attention to these things.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out, since we have you here,
Right.
I want to maximize this opportunity.
Right.
Let me see here. So
I'm just a master of mistakes. That's what I say. I'm not a guru.
Hey,
I'm a master of
word.
mistakes.
Okay,
right.
so,
Go ahead.
So I'll relate this to me because I think the topic of the show we were talking about emotions, right?
Yes.
Right?
Mhm.
And like kind of like mastering your emotions.
Mhm.
It took me a long time to realize, and it's funny. It's funny how a message will come at you different ways throughout your journey, throughout
Absolutely.
your travels. But it'll be said in different ways. Sometimes it's forceful.
in my
Sometimes
bag.
it's a lullaby in your ear. Like sometimes you just like it just hit you between the eyes. But it started hitting me when I realized, you know, especially when we talk about how we relate to women, a lot of times that's where we always lose.
Mm-hmm.
We lose when we elevate our voice, or we, you know, like we react out of emotion first.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's never, and I started saying this when I was younger, it's not about being right, it's about how you respond when you're right.
Absolutely. It's how you deliver it.
And how you deliver it.
Right.
But then that evolved into 10% of life is what happens, 90% is how you react. Is how you react. I had a mentor, a big brother, tell me that. And then, you know, like it's just over like over time you just start to just experience when you say less.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and my mom is like, she's like the master of this for real. Like she figured out how to let people exhaust themselves being rude and disrespectful. So no matter what, you got it all out. You done got it all out. So now we know.
Mm-hmm.
And the less like, and the power is in how I react. So she would always tell me, your reaction is their power.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing that translate. But relationships and matters of the heart, they're the trickiest.
Right.
You know, because you know you have these other nuances at play. You know, these
Same
other
play.
factors.
But you know,
Same play.
You know, for me, as I grew, like you said, what I realized is, to a man and a woman or people in general, when you having a disagreement, if both of you guys are having a conversation out of emotions, it's not gonna be a productive conversation.
How about this?
Or-
Majority of the anger that's in the conversation ain't got nothing to do with the conversation.
Nope.
Boom. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
anger is not
Yeah.
about the conversation. It's something from, you know, our anger place, because the topic could be solved, but they get angry.
And you never, you know, I say for men, man, like you got to give us we not gonna badger you about something if we have the opportunity. Like I know for me, like if you want to communicate with me, I'll tell you what's up. I only get frustrated when I have to keep talking about the same thing.
Over and over.
I mean,
Yeah.
of course I said this earlier, but I think when people feel like it's almost like an unfinished, it's like you can't leave things unfinished.
Right.
So not taking things personal in an interpersonal relationship is the hardest thing that you can do, right?
Or picking somebody who doesn't know what you know. I call it relationship IQ. If you've been have you been married before?
Close.
Okay. I was married 19 years. And there are certain types of people that don't fit with people who've been married 19 years. So if you've never been in a relationship before and you're trying to get that person in a relationship with you, you almost got to bring them up to speed.
Right.
So be leery of who you almost mentor to be in your relationship, because when you teach people new tricks, they want to go use them. So you got to be careful of that. That's the problem with women raising men, picking men who are not whole. That's the problem with women picking men, because the more he gains, the more he wants to go out and use it. He's not going to get all those.
Because you taught him something new.
And you've taken a 70% man, you made him a 100% man. Now he's gone. Because remember I said, once you become 100, that's a different person. And the person that made him 100 may not be the person for you.
Right.
So you're gone.
So what about the notion of like you're single until you're married?
That's some, well, you mean, you technically, that's what I used to get. Technically, I'm single until I get married. I'm single till I commit. Now, I have a verbal commitment that this is a relationship I'm going to be in. That's when I'm single. I'm not taking any gray area in that, because I have not vetted you. My brain hasn't told me it's okay to love you. My heart ain't making no decision. At the end of the day, I'll tell my heart, okay, she all yours. I've made a commitment. Now you do what you do. Now you can pull out half my cerebella, because now I'm in love. But until that point, it's always evaluating you. Now, is she telling you that you're single until you put a ring on it, or are you telling her that?
No, I'm just I'm just speaking. I'm just throwing out things
Okay.
that young people in my generation are
Mm-hmm.
dealing with, that we don't have anybody that we just can not on that's not on, you know. That's just not, you know, somebody that's different. You know,
Okay.
just a different message from a different
Okay,
messenger.
you have to have yourself together first. We were just talking about before you got here. The purpose of the book Be Undumpable is to put your life together so you can see who's not together, who's trying to be with you. Do you understand that? If they're not together, you really shouldn't accept that, because then you have accepted their problems, their yellow flags, their red flags. Those flags become your life. Just like accepting somebody who doesn't have a car. Now, they want to go to work. They're in a relationship with you. Now, I mean, you decide to be in a relationship with them. They don't have a car. Now you got to take them to work. You got to take them to church. You got to take them to their mama house. You got to do all that because you accepted that relationship with no car, in the hopes that they might. Like most women who pick a man who has no job. She think he's going to get a job, but what she don't do, she don't put anything measurable out there to see. He says, yeah, I'm in between jobs, so I'm going to get a job real soon. Well, if that's the case, I'd be asking, where's your resume at? Who did you go see today? Whose application did you put in today? Because I want to keep you at your word, because I'm accepting this shortcoming. So I need to see you at your word. But they don't ask. They go along to get along because he's got potential to be her man. And there lies the problem.
And then a lot of women have the thought process, I'd rather have a piece of a man than no man.
You got to ask him that. I like to hear some women tell me
the
that.
human condition prompts everybody now. We live in the age of not only awareness or Aquarius, but also the age of fear of loss and loneliness. So a lot of people are just doing things because not understanding that there's just an abundance. There's an abundance of like self growth and experiences, just people on this earth. So you don't always have to just funnel yourself into particular situations just because it's there.
But as we spoke earlier, there's many factors from our childhood to make us do that now.
Right.
Yeah, abandonment issues, no
Right.
dad, no mom.
Right.
It's those things that kick into play. And they don't want to take ownership to until they've wrecked everything. Now they seek that information. Now they are awake. And that's the problem. We're staying asleep until something negatively jars us, and now we want to get together. Now we want to start reading the books instead of it being taught at a level that I want my child to be the greatest, so I'm going to teach him how to meditate. I'm going to teach him how to seek self-awareness. I'm going to teach him to sit down and do self-reflection. I'm going to get them to be undumpable before they take on a spouse. We're not doing that because the people who are supposed to do it aren't there. That area of parents
The
that are
elders.
missing or distracted or in the shelters or.
So the question I posed to him, I'm gonna ask you since you younger than us. Do you think men and women are fearful of self-growth and in the fear of if they change and grow to who they really are, that the people they have around them will no longer like them or love them?
Okay. I feel like we are not taking enough time to ourselves to figure out how not to mess it up in the first place. It's always trial by fire with us. So you don't really know who you are because you haven't given yourself enough time to grow in between your experiences. So exposing who you are what your patterns say you are. You know what I'm saying? But that's the fear of once again, the fear of loss, the fear of judgment, obviously,
Right.
anchors a bit of those sentiments. But you know, ultimately, when it comes to the self growth and the ability to sit back and say, you know, I'm a young man in my prime, but maybe I need to chill out on, you know, just the extracurricular activities for a little while, and not necessarily put myself like on a rigid time frame, but just changing my thought pattern just a little bit. You'll be surprised how much in your life can change when you're not always shedding, you know what I'm saying, your aura with someone else in a physical way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But we don't do that. It's like we see it because we live in a microwave society, especially my generation. You know what I mean? You see it, you go after it. It's an abundance. It's 90,000 single women in Atlanta. Like
90,000? Really?
90,000. You know?
But here's lies about. So let's take me for. I'm very transparent. Due to my childhood and family dysfunction, sex was my medicine. So I needed my medicine when I wanted my medicine. Just like what it says, you get up in the morning, take 2 pills. So that was what you're saying. I just couldn't do at your age. I couldn't get my mind around it because there was something broken in me. And that didn't change until I just had to sit still. I sat still for about 1.5 years. And I'm like, man, I created a mess trying to get that medicine. And when I finally did wake up from it, I still didn't figure out what I was looking for. It wasn't 2 years later that I found out what I was looking for. But it was just something that was broken in me. So we do things to move forward, even if it's wrong. We judge it as a need, but it's really wrong. And we are quick to justify. You know, my life didn't change until I started writing things down. I think one day I was telling my brother about his relationship, and he said, well, that ain't what you do. I was like, oh, you got me. But you'll never get me like that again. So whatever I say, I write. And that's why I write this stuff down. And I live by what I write. We don't write nothing down that keeps us in line.
Right.
Remember I said you can't whoop a grown person.
Right.
You just can't take off your belt. But if you can get them to live by their words, that's why some people don't say things in your relationship because they don't want to be held to that standard. They're like, they're not going to commit to it. And if you don't commit to what you say, you just accept it. I ain't doing it. And expect you to accept it.
And that's the question about like men and women like having to expose themselves in their truth. There's a vulnerability when you get to that point. You know what I mean? And it's a vulnerability of a few things. Number one, hoping and wishing that the person that you have an affinity towards is not going to judge you based on your exposure to them. So instead of just being honest, we create things that we know are shameful. Trying to get away from stuff that when we should just at some point you got to kind of just slow down.
Right.
But the momentum is already there. Like your habits are your habits. So it's like you're just running from it. But I think just being open and vulnerable, I think that's really, really, really hard, especially for my generation.
Vulnerable means open to attack.
Yeah, but
if you look at the definition, vulnerable means open to attack.
Yeah,
and that's why we don't want to do it.
We don't want to do it. But I mean, is it vulnerable? I'm gonna have to find out. I'm gonna have to do some
it needs
etymology. I'm gonna have to do some etymology on vulnerable. But you know what I'm saying. But I understand what you're saying. But what's the point? Well, first of all, relationships shouldn't be adversarial anyway. So if you gonna leave yourself open, hopefully it's not to attacking a relationship.
Well, unfortunately, when you're other people's pains, like I say, like landmines, you don't know their issues, but it might come up one day. So, one of the things I say when I'm transparent when I speak about my past. I says, if you can't take my past, don't take my hand. If you want the truth, most people can't handle the truth.
Right.
They can't handle it. Some people just want to be lied to. But hey, I don't ask a question that I'm not going to have to do an action behind it. When I talk to somebody, I ask a lot of questions. But there's some questions I don't ask because it's going to require an action on me, to what they say. So I'm very meticulous and talking to people because I don't know them, but I ask a lot of questions.
And why is it you feel it? I know why, but why is it so important to ask a lot of questions?
So you don't leave anything uncovered because you don't want it to pop up later. Like your finances, I think people try to keep that a secret, but if you're going to live with me and I'm going to marry you, I need to know what's going on in your finances because you might have bad habits to go with your finances, don't go with a couple. That's when it's okay to be single because you don't have to justify anything of your purchases.
And see, he and I we'll help co-host a show tomorrow, and that's something I had said on their show is because Like my parents been married 47 years.
Right.
In the dating, they dated 6 months and was married after a year. But like you said, they had a lot of conversations.
A lot of them.
A lot of conversations, and they talked about finances. They talked about kids. They talked about all these different issues that cause the demise of a relationship. And they had these serious conversations.
Absolutely.
And my father said if they were not able to agree, regardless of how much he loved her, it would have been over. Because you already set yourself up for failure.
Absolutely.
Because you can't agree on the key issues.
Uh-huh.
And so he's like, love, he said, love is a great thing. But he said when you get married, it's love and a business. And he said we had to agree that I was the CEO and she was the COO of Thornton.
Right.
And as a business, we had to be to agree on how we're gonna run this business. And he said he felt that's where the demise go, because nobody want to have these hard conversations.
Right.
All we want to do is be in love.
Right.
And not have the conversations.
Right.
So
you can't get away from it. You can't. And we doing it now. They might not be doing it at 36 as much as they do, but I know right now I do. It's an interview.
Yeah.
It's an interview when you show up to talk. Every time I talk to you, it's an interview because I'm trying to figure out who you are so I can be emotionally safe with you. Because the emotionally, when it gets jacked up is, I can't stop loving. You don't make me stop loving you. I want to love you. I want to love till I pass out. But I'm not going to do it if I know there's a potential problem that you're not telling me.
Yeah.
So that's why I say you have to wait.
Yeah.
You got to wait a while before you even commit. A commitment to the idea that it's just going to be me and you. I vetted you that whole time. And it should be the other way around. Women don't ask enough questions to men. They just want to go along and get along because they want love to drive right in and just make it happen. Then the functionality, your relationship goes from relationship to realizationship. I realized I picked the wrong person.
Right.
Then you got to figure out a way how to get out of it. Hold on a second. And then you probably already had a kid.
And to piggyback off of you said, for me being transparent, I'm guarded by nature, and you have to show me because I love hard. So if you have to show me that you worth the love I'm going to give you.
Now, has that kept you from being in a relationship? Because you said you're never married.
No.
No?
No. What has kept me from being married is because I allow experiences to make me not trust women.
Even though it's a different woman when you choose in the next one.
And the bad part about it was, to be very honest, the one situation, it wasn't even someone who I dated. It was just an experience that I had. Now, I think sometimes people don't understand the experiences people have, how it affects them.
Absolutely.
I was dating somebody. I was dating my first love. And I had got it. I was fresh out of college. And I'm all into her. I got this job at the job I wanted and all that kind of stuff. And one of the girls in the job was attracted to me. And she did things to try to get my attention. But I'm all into this person over here.
Right.
So she accused me of sexual harassment.
Okay.
And that triggered me. That I was like, okay, they're treacherous. Because here I am, this guy who didn't had no kids, did everything I thought I was supposed to do as a man.
Right.
And because I didn't want you, you're going to pretty much almost could kill my whole life.
Right.
And I thought I had got past it mentally.
Right.
I did, but my heart didn't.
Okay.
And I didn't realize that until I started doing the work. And I realized I never really fully released it.
You know what your listeners are saying right now?
What?
She's not going to pay for the sins of another woman. And they're saying that when you move forward, that's what you're doing by not.
Oh, yeah.
So here's what I do. That's a problem.
Yeah. But see, now I'm better.
Right.
But
Well, there's other people going through it. So the problem, you got to solve the problem. And there's 5 steps to solving the problem. It's to identify the problem, who caused the problem, do a solution for the problem. What is the lesson learned?
Right.
And the rule so it don't happen again.
And it's not like I never dated other people.
But what's your rule, though?
Yeah.
What's your rule? You got to have a rule so it doesn't happen again. Because when you see it, it's like, which looks like the old thing. You know what I'm saying? That you're dating somebody and someone else is doing it, and that triggers your heart.
Right.
It's like, oh, she about to, mess this up. So you gotta have a mechanism for that. You say, hey, I need to let you know right now that I'm currently seeing somebody else, and I don't want anything else to do with you.
Right.
Because that reminds you of the old one, but you just nipped it in the bud. That's your
Exactly.
rule. Rule of thumb is when you see something like that, you just nailed it. Hey, I'm not attracted to you.
And I'm saying this, and I think I'm saying it too, because like you said, to be transparent, you can see that you have to actually do the actual work to get to where you're trying to go. And when you start doing the work, you start to see your own patterns of what you're doing and what you're attracting. And so I never say I did not date nobody else.
Right.
I became emotionally detached. So then I attracted women who were emotionally detached, and we worked well together because we both was not trying to give up of anything.
Right.
If that makes sense.
So how did that work out?
It did. It worked. It worked
Until you elevated. Right. Till you elevated. Absolutely. Yep.
Until
Absolutely.
I kept on doing the work, and I started to see I'm shedding all these different things.
Yes.
I said, okay.
I
can no
don't
longer do
carry
that.
any baggage forward. I just carry the lessons forward.
Right.
And the instant I see something look like, oh, I'm gonna have a conversation about it. I was like, I noticed that you don't. When we're having a conversation, this is one of the things I used to have a problem with. When I have a conversation with somebody, they just wait their turn. They would not engage with what was just said. It was like, just like what you said, they would say, yes, I receive it, No, they're just waiting their turn. And I was like, we're not really having a conversation. I need to have a real send, receive, decoded conversation so I know we're on the same page as we move forward.
Right.
And I've said that to people. Now, we probably didn't go out anymore after that, but that's the kind of level of communication that I need, is that we're having a whole conversation, not sound bites.
Right.
Yeah. What do you think, young man?
I appreciate that. No, because I'm actually one of, and I kind of feel like I'm in the minority to some degree because I'm a little bit more verbose, but I'm a creative. So as a creative, I have to be able to talk. I talk about everything. Music, motorcycle, I talk about everything. And if you are not engaging with me in what I'm talking about, I'm not interested because you got what everybody else got. We got to be able to have that communication back and forth. The problem that I encounter is, number one, is that most women aren't used to men that communicate well. So that shit throws.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. It throws.
That's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we could cuss.
Oh, is that right? I'm coming back tomorrow. Save me a seat tomorrow.
I'm sorry.
I'm a great cusser.
It was a real moment, but my apologies. But those things like that, like they throw off. They just throw off the dynamic. Like you're going great, but then if you communicate well and the person that you're talking to, they have a weird way that they communicate, you're going to end up, it's going to manifest itself in different ways if you continue to talk to them. So how you have a conversation early on is going to pretty much be indicative of what that relationship and the communication style, you know what I mean? But for me, I talk.
You got to have a conversation about having conversations.
About having conversations.
You got to have a conversation,
You know what I'm saying?
about having conversations.
Exactly.
I mean, I think with so many pieces that we leave out. Now, running into me, I try to fill all those pieces so I can do everything I can. And if I'm missing a piece and I'm dealing with somebody, it's like, wow, man, I might need to work on that. Because if I get married again, I'm not getting unmarried. I'm not going to be dumped. I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be ready for this person.
Right.
They're not getting a half person. You ain't going to be coming in and trying to fill in some holes. I've already done it.
Right.
All you're going to do is put a little icing on top of
Exactly.
those spots where there was, because I did the work, and I'm proud of doing the work. Some of us don't want to do the work.
Don't. It's because some of the work is hard.
Yes, it is.
Some of the work is hard. And I remember maybe 3 years ago, it's this lady by the name of Lisa Nichols, and she's big of The Secret and all this kind of stuff. So I went to go see her for my birthday.
I love that. I watched the documentary.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And so she's really good. And so she had this assignment for us that we had to take away from. It could either be the person you're dating, your friends, and you had to reach out to your friends or the person you date and say, rate me from 1 to 10.
I thought you said rape me.
Or rates me from 1 to 10. One
My
being,
brother, you gonna have to speak up on some of these
Right.
words,
It
dog.
was an emphasis on it.
rates me from 1 to 10, with one being bad and 10 being good.
Right.
If anything under a 10, you had to ask that. You had to push back and say, what do I need to do to go from a 7 to a 10?
Right.
And you cannot be defensive of what they say, because at the end of the day, that's their truth of how they feel and what they need from you. And prior to earlier in the show, I told you what I hate the phone,
Right.
and that was the number one thing with me.
You don't reach out and call.
Absolutely,
You just respond when they call.
I just respond when they call me, and so
That's why we vibe.
and see right. And so the thing is, I couldn't. The initial, like you said, initially is you want to be defensive,
Right.
and say, y'all know me since I was 18. Y'all know I'm not on the phone. That doesn't make a difference.
Right.
That's what they might know that's who you are, but the question is what they need from me to elevate the relationship to another level. And so I had to like humble myself and say, okay, this is what they need. I'm gonna do better.
That's the compromise. That's a positive compromise right there. That's a positive, needed compromise. How do you feel that you went beyond your
I did better.
Okay.
Much better. Much better.
right?
I call more just because, and it's not because the initial thing was I didn't realize that's what they needed from me. So you can't do better if you don't know better
Right.
from that person.
Right.
So now that I know what they need, if I really care about that person like I say I do, then I will give them what they need.
So back to the 5 love languages. Do you ask your partner about their 5? Do you take the
I
quiz
do.
with them?
I do.
Hey, I do too. Do you follow the 5 love languages?
I do. I'm not ready to cave in on it yet. 'Cause now, me being a young buck,
Yeah.
somewhat still hanging on there. You have to be. I've always said this, and I know this. I don't know everything about being just a seasoned man because I'm coming into my own. I'm doing quite well, but I'm coming into my own. But I do realize this about men. Thus far, we are very deliberate. So I don't like to feel like I'm being tricked, manipulated, forced, coerced, any of that into doing something. So when it comes to those things, there are certain things that kind of denote where you're going with someone. And unfortunately, life happens throughout the course of how you're dealing with someone. You may not be there with them, and something may happen. Like I'm one of those people. Like I understand. Like I know that like life can, like situations and circumstance can bring people together. When you do stuff like the love language with someone, the act of doing it is saying something within itself. So I don't always. I haven't quite bowed down yet to saying, like, if I'm doing the love languages with you, it's because I'm there. You know what I'm saying? Like I care.
Well, it's kind of like this. You remember watching Divorce Court?
Man, Lynn Toller,
Yeah.
the new one. These talking about the new one?
Back
You
when it
talking about
started,
Magdalene?
because there was the
Oh,
basic theme in divorce courts was, I gave you everything. I gave you a house. I gave you cars. I gave you diamonds. And what was her response?
You can give me time.
You didn't give me you. So he thought he was doing it right by what he thought, more than likely what he saw his dad do. He bought his mom stuff, and that was great. But that works for his mom. And he can't do what his dad did with his mom. So if quality time is their love language, how they feel good, and you're not wanting to do it, then you're ruining the relationship.
No, I'm talking about do the activity of the. It's an activity, right?
No.
The 5 love languages.
No, it's a quiz to find out which
That's what
one's
I'm
your-
saying. The quiz.
Okay,
If
you
I
can do it
don't-
by yourself. You
Yeah,
don't
if
have to-
I don't
No,
want to
I
do
mean-
the quiz, to me, like I'm just saying, like for the younger generation,
Yes.
the act of doing the quiz itself is like almost like, well, we're going to this level. Like if you go to a young lady right now and say, hey baby, you want to do the 5 love languages? She gonna be like, we about to do the damn thing. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think you know. Yeah, I see what you're saying, but it's really not. It's not a commitment, nor is it a friendship.
I
ring or
know.
anything like that.
I know that.
Right, but most people don't. But it's just seeing how you receive that makes you feel good. Like mine is physical touch, and if I go out with somebody and they don't cross the line to make contact with my arm, my shoulder, or whatever, they don't make physical contact with me, I might as well not even showed up. It took me a while to figure out that that's what I was doing, because it means you don't care. If you don't make contact with me, you don't care. And that's and I didn't figure that out until I started reading. Why do I just leave and get in the car and don't talk to them anymore? Because they never spoke a language that I can receive. My sensors is that. It's like quality time.
So
if you cancel on me,
so I need to do the quiz.
yeah. If you cancel on me, I hate it.
Right.
You said cancel? You said
cancel a date.
Oh, like cancel plans.
Yeah. That's like the worst thing you could do, because quality time. When you're single, I set this time aside for you.
Absolutely.
That's about 3 to 4 hours.
I have two. Quality time is right there, and then like acts of service.
Acts of service.
Because I'm about doing.
Right.
So if I do for you, that means I care about you. If I don't do for you, then you have something to worry about. But those are my two.
And they should do for you.
So I think that's one of mine. I think that's one of mine.
Yeah, so that.
Yeah, because I get you.
Yeah, so I mean,
that's one of
just
mine.
check it out. Do the quiz by yourself. Sit in the room by yourself.
And if you just take out the mindset about you use that.
It's all about you.
It's all about you. And
it's not about
not in just in relationship with that woman, but in all your relationships.
Absolutely.
Because now I had got a better understanding of who I was and how I dealt with relationships, not in just with the lady, but my family and my friends.
Yeah, there's one for friends. There's one for coworkers.
Yeah.
It's
like,
amazing what's written out there that we could just tweak.
I do
lives.
things differently towards you than I would do towards Lyris.
Absolutely. Yes.
In a certain kind of way.
But you have to know their love language to do that make them to respond.
You more like me. So I could get. So it's things that I could do with you or not do that I know it wouldn't offend you.
Like not show up with a gift.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
So gifts is not mine.
It's not. That's not
Right.
my
You
thing.
can bring me gifts all day, and like I said earlier, I just put them on the shelf because it doesn't mean anything to me.
That's not.
Yeah.
But miss an appointment with me. Oh yeah.
That would set me off.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. So, but it's just reading about how, because what I did was I started thinking about old relationships and something else too. I think I said before you were here is that when you meet somebody, they might be doing all five, but then they slowly take them off the table. But when they take them off the table, you haven't told them which ones did you really like. Hey, I really like that you always show up on time. That's
Right. Right.
And, I like that when you come in, you scratch my back. I like that. I like that. You got cool points. That's positive reinforcements. I want to see it again. And if we don't tell them that, what if she stops scratching my back 2 months later, and I'd be like, well, damn, she done came in, she ain't scratched my back.
No
Yeah,
more.
this relationship over.
Right.
It's time to do the breakup dance.
If you don't positively affirm to them what you like and don't like, they don't know what to do.
They don't know, and we've done that so many times.
Right.
I found out that when I was in college, we one of my professors made us do the Briggs and Myers.
Yes, I just did that the other day.
Okay, what's your combination?
I'm an extrovert.
Okay,
Period.
okay,
I can't remember the letters.
You can't remember the.
I'm in
N-E-G,
between.
T-C or something like that.
It's 4 letters. Yeah, it's 4 letters.
I forget the 4 letters, but I'm a combination of both. I could be very extroverted, and I could be very introverted.
So mine came out to be my 4-letter combination was INFP, which is intuitive, feeling, perceptive, intuitive, nurturing, feeling, perceptive.
I see that.
So all of those, that creates a lot of anxiety in me because I'm so sensitive to stuff. You know what I mean? So I end up try to block stuff because people
sound like you're an empath.
I am. How did you know? Jeez.
I'm one too, and I'm an Aries.
It is crazy.
Blocking. When you said blocking, I knew. You said blocking.
Man, it's hard. It's really, really hard on me. So I feel like I almost have to go about things a certain way. Like I have to avoid conflict.
Absolutely.
I have to. Like,
Horror movies.
I can't stand. I don't like gratuitous violence. I don't
Absolutely.
like horror movies. Give me comedies, documentaries, concert footage, anything
Absolutely.
I can learn from. But
Absolutely.
the other stuff, it's just something about it, man. Like I don't know, but
Draws from you.
yeah.
Just like
It's
chaotic
hard
people.
to explain.
Yeah. So if you guys don't understand what we're talking about the empath. Being an empath is a highly sensitive person, and there's 30 traits of an empath. Google that, 30 traits of an empath, and read that information right there. I scored like out of 30, I had 22 of those traits. But you know, some people who are empaths, they will know that you are. They will let you know. One of my good friends, she let me know, and I didn't know. But that tone down the chaos in my life is, why am I dealing with all these chaotic people? Because they come into you, you know. But when it goes to a relationship, now that's somebody you can't do, because that's the one. And the one will make you break all the rules. So all this we think we're keeping people from and keeping them from doing to us, that one has got the right to the left and to the right, and boom. But you
They
just
know
have
how
to be
tune
ready.
you. Yeah, they know how to tune you. I know for me, like, I'm so perceptive. I can tell what's bothering you through a text message, which is extremely hard because there's no inflection, and we usually ruin the dialogue between text messages. Like, I don't really believe in relationship like texting anything over a 5 in meaning or value to you.
Right.
Because if we really need some clear understanding, we don't need a text message, because it's going to get lost in us trying to figure it out. But I pick up on stuff, just really, really subtle stuff, and they're like, how did you know? How did you know? Because I don't know whether or not it came through with the message that you sent. I don't know. So I'm very protective of myself. So I do a lot of, you know what I mean, outward projecting. So I'm a bit of an extrovert, obviously, because I do the radio thing here, but I'm mostly to myself when I'm not here, to myself.
Right.
Because most people latch on to me. And it's draining, man.
Absolutely.
Like,
And that's where we allow, like, because, you know, I could be an extrovert. I could be a social butterfly, but I'm also a big time loner. And that's the reason why, because I do so much, and that I people gravitate to me, and they want so much from me. When I have that time, I'd rather have my time by myself.
it's
I
hard for
limit
me
it.
to say no.
Well,
I'm learning that.
Monday's my time. Friday's my time. I'm only going to do work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's it.
And see, I'm learning how to do that because I was raised, my mother is very, very benevolent. And she's always said, give from your heart, and, you know, all of those things. So she raised, and I'm an only child.
Right.
So she raised me, like, I never had Jordans and stuff like, so I never had possessions or the grasp on possessions to not be willing to give things up. So that has carried me in some ways. In some ways it's positive. But when you get to a point to where, like, I feel like I need to be appreciated, and I think that's one of my love, like another one of my love languages. And when you're always giving, the people that give the most are at least appreciated. And it's taught me how to scale back now. So, but I still get anxiety because it's hard for me I have to make myself say no. And people call me, they say, hey, Law, we want you to do this. I'm like, like it's hard. It's hard for me to step up for myself and be more assertive with my time.
The most valuable thing you have.
Right. The thing I can never get back, because I don't like to let people down, and I'm just such a giver, and I'm a helper. So I'm just trying to just like balance it.
You have to master your life.
Yeah,
That's it.
Tweak
and
that
you
thing.
got to plan how to master your life. I wrote a book called Batteries and Suckers. Batteries and Suckers is for the very thing you're talking about. So I couldn't say no, but here's what I started doing. I'm going to teach you how to do what I did. Now, either you're going to get this lesson or you're going to go someplace else.
Right.
But you're not going to get what I have. And that's how you get those people off. You don't want to say no, but you don't want to leave them empty. So, hey, what did you do how'd you purchase a car? Or wait a minute, you going to co-sign for me? No, I made sure my credit was straight for a year, and then I went and got a car. And these are things that I did. They need to get it. You don't need to be co-signing for nobody. You need to get them to do what they do. So the book is based on the idea of it should be a transfer of wisdom. We, as leaders are the batteries. Those who come to us are the suckers. Our kids are our suckers. It is our job to turn those suckers into batteries.
Right.
But most people aren't doing that. Well, they're raising grown-ass batteries.
Right. And
I mean, grown-ass suckers.
And that makes a lot of sense because, you know, you're a leader, we are leaders. So people come to us and they suck everything out of us.
Absolutely.
If we allow them
without
to.
replenishing.
Without replenishing.
I gave a I know we about to wrap up here in a minute, but just earlier I had one of my younger cousins. She's a beautiful young lady. She has a boyfriend who's a little bit younger than her. So she's like mid-20s. He's like early, like just turned 20. And he's a smart young man. You know what I'm saying? Good looking young guy. You know what I'm saying? Like I can see why they vibing out. You know what I mean?
Right.
But he doesn't really, I'm trying to express to him without trying to spoil his fun, like how he needs to invest in himself a little bit more than what I'm seeing him doing. So I'm trying to figure out a better way to come across to the young people when it comes to how they're going about these relationships, not spreading themselves too thin, understanding. Like I gave him a lesson on credit today.
Because you're a teacher, right?
Well, yeah, I work in education. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because how can he use his platform in education to be the positive leader that a lot of those young men yearn for?
Connect with another program to offer that same thing. Because we all have specialties. We all have a special lane. And his lane is special to educate on that level right there to be with somebody else. And this is what we're going to add to you. Talking about the role of a dad, and then we're going to talk about finances. So what you do is you make a village of all these lanes that you can come and get it. And I think that's the greatest thing we could do because we're all specialty. My specialty is military and things like that and working with veterans. And I'm a dad of 7, so parenting, all those questions. If you get enough men in the room, you got enough spokes to that wheel to make it happen. And we just can't be afraid to do it. Because one of the things that keep us divided in what we're trying to do is our egos. Some people don't want to yield the space for somebody else. That's why I feel like when I quit my job, I wanted to do this. It was like nobody wanted to give me a piece of the pie.
Right.
Like that's the only pie. No, I can't do what you do, and you can't do what I do. And that's what we need to come together to be that special.
Exactly. And it was funny because, like, next week for my birthday, once a month I started back up doing like a men's round table.
Okay.
I might want to have you come back.
Okay.
But we have him. We're gonna have Music Monk, and we're gonna have Laris, who does the show on Tuesday, and we got Antonio. It works for us because he has a big personality, and Laris has a big personality. Me and Tony have personalities too, but our personalities are able to reel them in.
Right.
And I don't have a big ego, so I don't mind allowing him or Laris be the voice.
When they do it.
When they do it, because I'm not in competition with any of them out there, because I know their gifts and they need to be expressed. They need to express.
Right.
But I think a lot of times and stuff like this, these kind of platforms or basketball, it only works for so long because the egos get into it.
Absolutely.
To get into it, and and I could be like, well, I'm the star of the show, but he might be the one who gets all the people,
right?
Because it's big personality, but I'm the star of the show,
right?
And so that caused a problem.
Absolutely.
And so, but if we could learn how to coexist and work as a unified, we greatness is ours.
Yeah, I'm not humbled by. I work on being humble. I really do.
That's the Aries.
Yeah, absolutely. I really do. And right, I talk myself into getting ready to be amongst men because once you start getting your life together, once you start owning that, it's a whole different walk. And when you're around other men who don't get it, you kind of like, hey, he don't get it. Let me just keep moving. Let him catch up when he catch up because I've done the work. I was talking to a 21-year-old the other day, and he'd been in the same boat that I've been in about not being with his dad. So he's trying to tell me, he's trying to school me. He's trying to tell me I don't need all these things he don't need and what the essence of his mom and they all made him. I says, look, here's what you do. You get ready to be the dad that you wanted to have. That'll change your world. this little anger thing you got, which I told you I already had, ain't gonna do nothing but get you in jail or get you hurt. Just be that dad. That'll change your life.
So tell them about your book. Before we
Okay.
begin.
This is the bonus book.
Okay.
Okay. This is I Am My Own Dad. It talks about being one of 5 children, growing up, not knowing my dad, meeting him at 27. And then my next book inside there is called Unloved. It was talking about my household, the family dysfunction, and the things that we went through at home, and what needs to change. And then I talk about When You Wake Up, my realization of how important I was to my kids and all the damage that I did in the past and what I did to pull myself out that hole with my own rope.
Okay.
And I think that's a good book. It's a quick read for young men. It's just so powerful. I say it's powerful because it's an unlocking. You're truly powerful when you unlock from all those things, all those fears that kept you from moving forward, to say what has to be said and do what has to be done for your seed.
So how can these people follow you on social media or whatever?
You can find me on Amazon, Paul Posey on Amazon. You can also look up Negative to Positive. Hey, speaking of Negative to Positive, hold on a second. I brought you a shirt.
Thank you, sir.
Get that.
Thank you.
That's
Appreciate
how so we can change our life. You can find me NEG_2 POS on Instagram. You can always find me on Facebook. I host a relationship conversation with McDonough Southside Singles every other Thursday at Sports Bar 81 in McDonough. Reach out to me. I always share my information to get my books. Look for me. I am on a reality talk show. It's just getting started. It's called Men Decoded in Atlanta. The next tape is on the 24th of February. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they want my face on the camera, but they can have my voice. And what I believe in. Yeah, so that's coming up on the 24th of February. That'll be the second taping. If you want to come out, meet me, come to the show.
Where's it gonna be at?
It's it had information on it. I just got the date. So watch my Facebook page. I also speak at starting tomorrow. I'll be at Rockdale County Jail.
Okay.
I'll be working with their substance abuse program.
Okay.
And then next month I'll be going to talk at the prison in Beaufort.
Okay.
So my message is, we are the missing pieces.
Okay.
And we can make it happen. So
my man.
Hey, it's great to meet you.
Hey, man, likewise, man.
Give us your two. You want any music stuff? You want to tell us anything before?
You know what, man? You know what? So much, man. Like, you know what? Okay, so since we just had the Super Bowl, 2 minutes. We just had the Super Bowl. I'm glad that the Patriots lost. I don't really think I care about the sports as much as I thought I did. But the halftime show. Justin Timberlake, you know what?
He did too much.
Not only did he do too much, but here's the problem that I'm having right here. You know, how is it that he was the one that ripped off the Janet's garment, but you know he was able to come back, and Janet's been banned for, even though they're not saying that she's banned for life, but basically she's banned for life.
Right.
Like, I don't like that. You know what I mean? I don't like that. So. That's my little 2 cents right now. You know what I mean? I'm kind of banning Justin Timberlake because he did exactly what they all do. They come in and they become successful off the ears and the backs of black culture, and then when it's convenient for them, they sidestep it. And then now all of a sudden he's the man in the woods. Now the group that he's emulating, Bon Iver, like I'm actually a huge fan of their music. And Justin Vernon, he's like actually like the synthesized voice behind a lot of Kanye stuff. But they do genuine music. Like Justin Timberlake, this is almost like a gimmick album to me. So he's going to have some stuff that's going to be produced by Timbaland. Obviously, there may be some Pharrell on there, but most of this is going to be an attempt to try to capture another audience that he hasn't had previously before. And Justin was always the one that got the pass. He always got the pass in the black community. Always. Justin Timberlake always got the pass. And he turned around and he just let y'all know, man, like, you know, hey, I don't really do black music. Like, I do music for everyone now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Nah, you was doing black
So how can everybody find you?
Okay. Hammer Rant. Appreciate that. That was 2 minutes, man. Appreciate that. Obviously, man, this is your boy, Music Monk ATL, man. You can find me at Music Monk ATL on IG, Music and Motorcycles ATL. powered by Music Monk ATL. And I'm also you can find me at Von Bellington on Facebook, man. Just sharing a lot of music news, man, and my views.
All right, guys. You can find me on Facebook, Kevin Thornton, and also the Wellness Architect, and also the Wellness Architect on IG. Thank you for Mr. Paul Posey for coming out. Music Monk, it's a pleasure as always. Tomorrow I'll be on Beard and Conversation with this brother right here, and then next Monday it'll be my birthday celebration, and so it'll be the men's round table as we gonna celebrate my birthday. We talk about a lot of different things, women, because see, I'm gonna tell you what they said to me. You know, some women said that they didn't want to listen to the show the last time we was on there because they didn't want to hear what a bunch of men had to say. That's part of the problem.
Okay.
Ooh, invite me back for that.
Come on.
Absolutely.
You know,
they want to hear that. They want to hear that without making.
But thank you all for tuning in to the Wellness Architect Show. Be great, be you, and be safe. Peace.
Peace.
Good job.
Hey,
In
thank
the
you so
world
much.
playing all of today's hits. You're listening to Instinct Radio.